I just wanted to talk a little bit about this topic. I saw this article the other day and it really interested me. It was noting the fact that most of the popular shows on streaming services, the shows that streaming services report are reportedly the most watched shows on their services are all the old shows. So like Friends and The Office and things like that. And the new shows just are not picking up an audience like that. And I thought that that was very interesting because that's a very sense that I've been getting from streaming services that, their new shows just are not anywhere near as popular as the old shows that people used to watch. More people will talk about Friends to this day than they will over Succession, which I don't even know what that's about. But I was very interested in this topic and looking around at the responses to it to see what people said the reason is, and I wanted to just get into why I think people aren't watching new shows anymore. Now, you might notice on this channel I haven't done a lot of videos on new TV, and that's because I honestly barely watch it, and like I'm just such a media guru on so many things, but probably my most neglected set of media is TV. Like I play video games, watch movies, I even read old comics, but I just barely watch any new TV anymore. It's like a very, very occasional thing. And I've always attributed that to me having a very, very low attention span. However, like I don't really think that's true because I say that I watch more movies than I watch TV because I have a lower attention span. However, you have to think a movie is going to be 2 to 3 hours long, a lot of times 3 hours long these days, and an episode of TV might be 45 minutes to an hour at most. So it's not longer than a movie. It's shorter. It should be more bite-sized. But that made me realize what is actually the problem is it's actually not me with TV. It's a system in which they're made, and that follows back to some of the number one reasons that I saw people who commented on the article say why TV isn't watched anymore is TV used to be different. TV used to be you could watch one episode that would be about 45 minutes long or even a half hour, and it would be a self-contained episode. You think Friends, you think The Office, you think Star Trek, The Next Generation, stuff like that. Of course, there would be overarching arcs and through lines through various episodes, but you would still watch self-contained episodes. For example, let's go back to The Office. You would get like an episode about how somebody said something racist at the office, and so they have to figure out who said it, and they have to go through the training for it, and there's a lot of comedy from there. But you still have the through line of Michael Scott, his insecurity that's playing through it, and Jim and Pam's relationship, but you still have the premise for the individual episode, and you can you can watch the episode on its own and understand it, and you can finish the episode and feel satisfied that you got to a conclusion, while some other stuff is still running through if you want to continue watching. But and the same with The Next Generation. You would have a self-contained episode where they go to a planet and they have to resolve this conflict or figure something out, and there would be character development and things that are through lines throughout the entire series if you watch, but you can watch an individual episode and come to a satisfying conclusion. That is not the way that TV is made anymore. TV is all serialized. It's all they're all made to be like 13-hour movies or 10-hour movies, which is part of the reason why there's less episode count now, but also why it's more difficult to get into a TV show, because when you watch a TV show, it's always structured as an episode is not its own thing. An episode is meant to get you to a place where they can leave you at a cliffhanger or basically a hook to make you watch the next episode. And so that's what binge watching became. Like, for example, Daredevil. Now, that is one of the few shows that I actually binge watched because it was so good. But the way each episode was structured wasn't even, like, I wouldn't even call it a cliffhanger. Like, every episode ends, so you have to watch the next thing to get to a satisfying conclusion. And then that show will not get you to a satisfying conclusion. So you essentially have to watch the whole thing all the way through to get to a satisfying conclusion. All 13 episodes, which is going to take up your entire day. And it's more difficult because if a show is really good, then it's hard to let go and feel like, oh, I have to watch the next thing. And that's what happened with Daredevil. And that's what streaming services want. They want you to be on your streaming service as much much as possible, as long as possible, and they want you to continue to be subscribed to them. So they try to hook you in to be addicted to always finding out what happens next and never getting to any point of satisfaction. You have to watch to the end, and then when it ends, you have to watch till the next season so that you will constantly be subscribed. And that's a really big problem. And I think that is why TV, all new TV, is failing so much, because that's not what a TV show was supposed to be about. A TV show was supposed to be, you get off work, you can watch your half hour to 45 minutes of an episode, get to a satisfying ending, and you unwind and go to bed. It was supposed to be something relaxing and alleviating. But now watching a TV show has become a commitment. And that's why I can't get into any new TV, really, because I know if I sit down to watch an episode, I'm not sitting down to just watch 30 minutes to 45 minutes of a show and see if I like it or not. I'm committing to watching a 13-hour movie, essentially, and I will not get to a satisfying conclusion if I watch the first episode or second episode. I have to watch it all the way through. And sometimes, because they're structured as movies, it takes a lot longer to get development. For example, I gave Arcane League of Legends a very, very positive review. It's probably one of the best animated shows I've ever seen. However, there are people out there, with as critically praised as the show is, there are people out there who said they couldn't get into it because they thought it was boring. And I'll tell you why. When I first was watching it, it took me like 2 or 3 times to start, because it took us so long, because it's like the first 3 or 4 episodes are all the backstory stuff. The sort of thing that would take up 10 to 15 minutes if you were watching a movie takes up like 3 episodes to get all this backstory stuff. And it takes a lot to get you into this world. And that's why it was so slow for me. And it ends up being worth it if you watch the whole thing and get the story as a whole, but it just takes you a whole lot longer to get there. And I just think of, even before I quit watching network TV had molded itself to become like streaming as well, where I am ashamed to admit this. I used to watch The Flash. I lasted until about season 3 or season 4. But one of the things that turned me off of that show was not just the horrible writing and acting, but the fact that what they would constantly do is they would constantly bait you. It was never about getting to the big finale where everything would be wrapped up and you could feel satisfied about everything in this season has come to this big resolution, and then there's some teasers for the next season. The season finale of The Flash would always get you to a point where they just want to bait the thing for the next season. They want to constantly bait you the next thing. And after a while, you realize they're not actually doing anything new here. They're just repeating themselves over and over again. And what they're really pushing themselves on is just the next bait, the next thing of, you have to watch the next thing to understand what the next thing is in order to get the complete story of this. And I got so tired of that. And I think, once again, that is why people just can't enjoy new shows anymore. It is very rare that you have a show with the writing on the level of Daredevil and Arcane. That's not me even dogging on modern writers right now. It's me talking about how it's just very rare to get that kind of expert writing and quality, period. But now we're asked to even try a new show that might be, we don't even know if it might be good. It might be just mid, it might be really bad, but we have to make a big commitment to get the whole story. We have to watch those 13-hour epics that are going to take up our entire day. It's not a relaxing thing anymore. It's not a way to unwind. I think it becomes another burden. TV becomes another burden. And I think that's a big problem, because I think about the shows of the past that I still do watch, because, I think TV used to just be structured better. And I'm like, well, where's our Office? I started watching The Office because everyone told me how funny it was. I watched some clips, I would watch it, and I could cherry pick episodes that I heard were really good and watch them self-contained and enjoy them. And that's the way it was with a show like Friends as well. And why those shows are more widely watched, is they're far more accessible. They're not such a bondage, if you will. But new shows are always just made with just the business in mind, not the story in mind, but the business of we have to constantly keep people hooked in and constantly subscribed. And I think it's working the opposite way, where people don't even feel like they want to start watching these shows because it's become so hard to get into them because of how drawn out and long they are. And it's not that some shows, like, for example, Avatar: The Last Airbender, the original animated shows, don't work with that structure. It's just you can't do that with every show and ask people to commit to that. And they, streaming services have been struggling and losing a lot of subscribers. So sooner or later, they're going to have to admit that this formula needs to change, and we need more variety in shows again. Is there a sitcom that's really even popular anymore? Do they even make those anymore? Well, they should, because I think that there's definitely a market for that. That's like the ultimate take a load off after work kind of episode. But that's all I got for you guys today. What do you think? Are you watching a lot of new TV, or are you just as turned off as I am? Let me know in the comments below, and I will see you guys next time.